Hello and welcome to Watchdog Wargaming. This is going to be a quick update on my Vietnam project at the moment, with the figures that I've 3D printed and painted out. Most of this army is going to be 3D printed, and I'll go through the various manufacturers as we come across their particular vehicles or figures. This just started out as a bit of a side project for when I was working on my career units, which are still ongoing, but just fancied something to change and start off with looking at Vietnam Wargaming. At the same time, there was a Kickstarter coming off by 3D Breed, which I signed up for, and some of the vehicles and figures belong to them. There's also Eskice miniatures, Bobmack 3D as well is also in there as well, and figures from Bergman, which are free on Thingiverse and which are scaled to 1/100 scale, and I upscaled them up to 156mm. This was a bit of a little steep learning curve for me, to be honest, because I'd never done 3D printed figures before, so it was getting to the grips of how to use it. But so some of the figures I had were came out a little bit small scale, but I've still used them, and so it was very tropical thunder in some of them, as in from a comedy point of view. But I've kept the figures on, but just painted them up, my Jack Black, as I like to call them. But slightly digress. So what I'll do is I'll start off with the first vehicles that I 3D printed, and that was M113 ACAVs, and that was from Eskice miniatures. So here we are. So this is the first one that I printed off. As you can see, there was a little bit of a wobble on the front there, but again, unless you actually know it's there, you don't notice it. So yeah, they are a little bit dusty at the moment, so lots of stowage on the back. The transfers and the decals came from my collection of decals that I've collected over the years. I think some of them are actually from old Matchbox figures, Matchbox models. Some of the stowage are 3D printed, and again that was from Bobmack, and then others I think I bought from eBay. But there we are. So that's the first of the M113 ACAVs. And again, so this is another one, 3D printed, very similar. The name of it, whoops, I have to remind myself, these are not secured in. So yeah, this is Southern Comfort, and the gunner's Skeeter. There we are. This one's Calamity. Oh no, this is Southern Comfort. Actually, the one that which has got the goof on it is cocked up as Calamity Jane. So that's the one I remember that had the didn't actually come out 100%. And then the last of the this one is the Squatter. Again, so I've just painted them to how I like them. They're fine for the battlefield. There we are. Again, lots of optional extras have been put on there as well. A bit of dusting powder on them. Okay, and then the last of the this is from Bobmack 3D. So this is from his 1980s US Army run that he did, which I signed up for. Slightly different. It's a lot heavier and there's a lot more detail on it. Now what he did separate was a recoilless rifle, which is on a stand. I saw one of the pictures from Vietnam where they had actually mounted the recoilless rifle actually on the back of an M113, so that's what I did. So cut off the stand and mounted it roughly where it looked like on the picture. And this one's Lola. There we are. So it's bent slightly a little bit, but that's fine. Okay, so that's all my ACAVs. Now, what I'll do is I'll continue with what I've painted so far, or work in progress. So those were the ACAVs I've finished off. You might have just seen this one I put out recently, and that was the a certain ACAV officer shouting. So I've just got to do the basing on that, and then that figure's finished. Just put him to one side, and then so these are some of the infantry. So I started off with sort of oh, hang on a second. Let's see if I can. I'll put those down there. Just grab a random one. So these are the ones that I've still got to finish off the basing, and there's one or two things that I've just noticed have got to be finished off. So I've got the painting schemes down to a simple selection now. Who would have thought there were so many greens? Yeah, it's got a Marlboro packet in the back. These ones are all meant to be. Sorry, okay. There's a few faces I've got to finish off with the eyes. That's one thing I'm working on at the moment is eyes. I can never. They always look boss-eyed, or they look like Clarence. What's this one? Yeah. So remember I said I got a few Jack Black figures that they didn't come out quite right when I was messing around with the sizing. So this is one of them. So he's going to be just one of my tunnel rats when I get them all painted. Yeah, so these ones are all the 3D breed ones. Yeah, he's still got a bit of work on the face, but there we are. Oh, and I think this is one of the Special Forces dudes that I've just painted up as normal green uniform, but there's ones I'm just having a go at now, trialing as Tiger Stripe. But there we are. Put those one side. Eek. Hand of God. So you can see on here there's a mix of the weapons. You've got M16s, M16s, M14s, the M79 bloopers, and you've got the laws as well. So yeah, so these ones have just got lots of work on the faces to go. What he's got, yeah, he's armed with a blooper. He's got his M14 on the back. I know that people said the sculpts are not of rather comedic, which is that they're fine. They're fine for me. They're not 100% accurate, but again, that's as long as they look like a US Army soldier or a US Marine Corps or whatever, MACV, then that'll do for me. So it's yeah, I think I've got a look at them. Yeah, Mr. Shouty over there. So that's those ones. So these are all my sort of nearly finished. Got a couple of bases that I'm working on at the moment. So these the M60 Cruise pigs. Got a couple of that are stood up, and then ground mounted, lying down prone position. And then what I'm working on at the moment is sort of all my African American figures. So I did all the pinky ones to start off with, and now I'm starting off with the African American ones. So it's again sort of just trying to get the facial tones and everything else correct, or nearest to. Again, this is something I haven't done before. We've got M14s on there, which is great. Yeah, so these are far from finished yet. These have got a lot of work to do on them. Got inking some of where I've missed out the paint and everything else, so that's going to be done. So these are what I'm working on at the moment. So that's the figures wise. So vehicles. So you've seen the M113s. What I've done recently is just now 3D printed a Sheridan. And then I've added on a few sort of external stowage and stuff like that. So that's just, the gunner. Gunner didn't come with this tank, so that's from Eskice Miniatures. I think it was Eskice Miniatures. No, it's one of the 3D breed ones, but I think it's off one of their other vehicles, and I managed to fit it into there. So I've got to paint that up as well. So again, when I was watching Apocalypse Now recently, I noticed they had a couple of these. These are the LVTP5. These come from Bergman. They were one 1/100 scale, which I increased to 156 millimeters. So this is the normal LVTP5 amphibious vehicle, which the US Marines mostly carried around Vietnam in. But also they had, if you watch the film, there's one that's got the shark's teeth, and this is another one which I just 3D printed, and that's the LVTE stroke 1, which is the engineer version. So yeah, that's going to have all the shark's eyes on the front of it and be engineered. One thing I'm going to do with the other one is that if you look at some of the pictures on Pinterest and stuff like that, there was an additional sort of supplementary 50 cal or 60 M60 was put on the back there. So that's something I'm potentially going to do as well. So I've got some sandbags to go on that. So this is something else that I recently 3D printed. Was the again, this is from 3D breed, and this is the US Marine Corps ONTOS, which was carried the Recoilless rifles. So again, that's on the list of things to paint up. Now, also I've got some printed off some MUTTs. Now these ones these are slightly bigger than the normal 156 scale, because I've got some crew drivers that go into the 156 scale ones, and they didn't fit quite right. So these ones I've increased to 143rd scale. So they are a little bit bigger, but they're for the vehicles, it's fine. I've got a from my World War II stuff, I've got 143rd Willys Jeep, so that's what I'm going to use as well, so the scale is fine. So perhaps just for the wheeled vehicles like the MUTTs and the Jeeps, I'm just going to just increase it to 143rd. And but there we are. This is going to be this is a headquarters Jeep, or the MUTT, and then you've got this one, which is the it's armed with this M60. What I want to do is paint up a section of military police, so US Army military police, so to a checkpoint or something like that. So that's on the list of things to do. Again, these came from Bobmack 3D. Yeah, so yeah, Bobmack 3D. He's all his details on the bottom there. So bobmack3d.com. So if you want to look at what he's doing, I think he's actually going to do another Kickstarter shortly with some Soviet vehicles, which is very, very useful. And then the last thing that I have to show you at the moment is that you can't have a Vietnam era war game without a certain boat. So yeah, I've 3D printed a PBR. So I've got to there we are at the moment. So there's the PBR. I've got a choice. I can either have Lance on the forward 50s if I want, or I can take them out and I can just swap it over for just a normal an empty 50 cal. One thing I have to do is to kit bash a spot lamp to go on the side, but yeah, so this came from 3D breed as well. I've got a very tasteful pirate flag to go on there rather than the American flag. And I've also I've 3D printed a grenade launcher and another M60 to go on the top there as well. So there we have it. That's more or less what I've got on painting on at the moment. I have printed 3D printed some US Marine Corps ready to paint. Also NVA and also VC, and they all came from 3D Breed. So if you're interested, have a look at their website. Not everybody's got access to a 3D printer. I was very, very lucky, and it was bought for me by my wife and 2 boys as a Christmas present. And again, it's not exactly a plug and play thing. You learn. It took me a long time to learn how to do these. Still not 100% there. Do things get things wrong every now and again, and but I reuse. If a vehicle doesn't print out properly, then I'll use that as an exploded vehicle or damaged vehicle or things. There's always use for something or other. But slightly digress. My plan is that I'm currently sort of looking at the various options for this. I've got a inkling to go with the various Vietnam War adaptations of Boltaction, but I'm also looking at recently it's a Xenos Rampant as well as another option. So yeah, I'm just reading upon some of the forums at the moment with the best way to go. So there we are. So that is sort of where we are with the current update work in progress of my Vietnam project. Hopefully it sparks some interest in something that you want to do. I did have this in 15mm Peter Pig a long time ago, and in a moment of madness I got rid of it all. Yeah, so with my interest has come back, so this is going to be going on for some time. So hopefully you've this is sparked some interest with you, and yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe below, and we'll catch up later on. Bye for now.
Squad morale restored.